So, does anyone care to touch on this further?
Yep, and I was up into the theories too, into the conspiracy theories around COVID until I was no longer seeing any sort of actual thing that I could verify as evidence. In fact, that's how I worked my way out. People kept telling me, do your own research without realizing my mom had taught me, question everything, including the answers that you find. By the way, here's the library. That's where you find your answers. Of course, that was back in the 70s, so let's put that in context. My name is Jerry. I left MAGA, and this is probably going to be a relatively short video by comparison to a lot of them that I've done because this time I'm telling on myself, but what I'm going to be doing is actually presenting some material that um, I live streamed. Now, I realize here on the screen it says Tuesday, April 9th, but if I look down here, it shows it actually streamed on the 19th. And so I probably put the wrong date in the title. Um, on the plains of hesitation lie the blackened bones of the countless thousands who at the dawn of victory sat down to rest. And yeah, this is over on Rumble. You can see the logo there. But yeah, this is from some of that election stuff. So that's why I actually picked this particular clip. Let's go ahead and get into this and see what it was I was reading and what I had to say.
Okie dokie, let's get to another news article here real quickly. Oh, wait a minute. That was not the song I wanted to line up.
Okay, so I just want to lead into this that this is misinformation. All right. Much later, this movie, 2000 Mules, this alleged documentary, ended up being pulled. And Dinesh D'Souza, the guy who made it, and I may have to do some stuff on him because that guy's a real piece of work. But anyway, Dinesh D'Souza was the one that did 2000 Mules, and he had to admit that he had falsified information in it. You'll also notice down here in this corner, there's this marching Pepe. That's something that I had when I was MAGA and before Dark MAGA was a thing. And then over here on this side, you'll see an icon, a logo that one of my associates made. And that was one that he also made for the Dogs of War radio, which there was at that time, there was the three of us in it. It didn't last much longer after that. Anyway, back to the video. I
There
was
it
a little
is.
disorganized back then, as you can tell. I was still fairly new.
All right. Postponed until Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Gateway Pundit and 100% Fed Up to interview investigators Catherine Engelbrecht and Greg Phillips behind the upcoming 2000 Mules movie.
Okay, now at this point, I need to interject. This is coming from the Gateway Pundit and 100% Fed Up. They're both alt-right news rags, if you want to call them news, propaganda outlets.
About the it's from what I understand, 2,000 Mules is about all the ballot stuffers. Let's see. Back on October 17th, 2020, the Gateway Pundit interviewed Catherine Engelbrecht, the founder of True the Vote election integrity and organization.
True though. Yeah, I was drinking a lot of Kool-Aid back in those days. No, I was not listening to Sidney Powell and her talking about her headless anyway, I personally found Sidney Powell's voice irritating. I avoided her, but that's a different story. I was more closely aligned with the Digital Ninjas over there with Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, and I will eventually be able to pull myself together enough to address that. I invested a lot of time in that, and I definitely regret it. But then again, I don't because I'm out here on the other side of this thing, being able to explain it to people.
Back in October 2020, Catherine warned us that the key to victory, quote unquote, key to victory, was for conservatives to observe and keep watch of the ballot drop boxes.
Okay, now see what this is leading up to is these early ideas that were seeded that's giving us this fruition of people talking about putting ICE agents at polling booths. But also understand around this time and even before, which I was a congressional watchdog prior to this all going down, like the year before. And where was I going with that? Oh yeah, it'll come back to me. Oh, the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act. It was Senate Bill one. I think it was Senate Bill 1 or 4. I forget which. But anyway, the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act, and the way it was being interpreted on the alt right was that it was going to provide for voter suppression with government observers. And here we are in March of 2026, and well, y'all can see where we are. They're trying to put ICE agents at these polling stations. They're trying to do the very thing that they decried.
Catherine warned us, and she was right. So I'm looking forward to that coming out. Let's see. Over here at HHS, Secretary Becerra claims.
Yep, and I was up into the theories too, into the conspiracy theories around COVID until I was no longer seeing any sort of actual thing that I could verify as evidence. In fact, that's how I worked my way out. People kept telling me, do your own research without realizing my mom had taught me, question everything, including the answers that you find. By the way, here's the library. That's where you find your answers. Of course, that was back in the 70s, so let's put that in context. But there was a lot of nonsense going on. Let's see where I go with this. Where I went with this though.
COVID vaccines, quote, kill people of color, end quote, at, quote, twice the rate of whites, end quote. Vows to, quote unquote, work harder to get more people vaccinated. We have.
Okay, so that was promoting this whole theory that a lot of us had embraced that this was a weapon, a biological weapon, and that it was geared genetically towards various races, and allegedly that's why we didn't see this one particular racial demographic dying at the same rates as everybody else. Um, if you want to know, ask in the comments, and I'll tell you. But hey, it's the usual suspects.
Have a video clip. It's only about a minute long. Let me go ahead and make all the appropriate adjustments. And let's just hear the words fall out of the horse's ass.
Yeah, I've softened up quite a bit since then in a lot of ways. Oh, and you'll notice that there's this Odyssey logo up there. That's actually a platform that I was on prior to shifting to Rumble. In fact, my departure from Odyssey is what led into my approach to Rumble and then later onto Pill. And I'll cover a bunch of that at another time. But let's see where I went ahead and took this. Amateur hour.
Sorry, tab was muted, as usual.
Vaccines. A year, secondly, by having better data, we can do a couple of things. Vaccines. A year ago today, by the way, we know that vaccines are killing people of color, blacks, Latinos, indigenous people at about 2 times the rate of white Americans. So on vaccines, last year, we saw that about 2/3 of white American adults had received at least one shot of vaccine. That was just barely over 50% for Black Americans and Latinos at that particular time. So again, we got to work. Today, a year later, over 80% of white American adults have received at least one shot. Over 80% of Black American adults have received at least one shot. Over 80% of Latino Americans have received at least one vaccine shot. By the way, we know that vaccines are killing people of color, blacks, Latinos, indigenous people at about 2
Man, they were laying it on thick, weren't they? But with this being on Odyssey, what this meant was another content creator had grabbed this and edited it, and then sent it over to Gateway Pundit, which, surprise, no surprise, is based here in St. Louis, Missouri. Um, but yeah, we can dive into that more some other time as well. I've just got so much to plow through. Let's see. We're only about 10 minutes in. Let's go see. Let's see what else we got going here.
times the rate of white Americans.
All right, that's crazy. And it goes on to say in the article, according to VAERS, only 421 vaccine related deaths in 2020 prior to the administration of the mRNA shots.
Okay, so what I've learned since then is, and I should have picked up on it back then. Um, I was hearing individuals complaining, allegedly medical staff complaining about how long it takes and everything that it takes to enter a report in theirs. And if I'm wrong about that, somebody please correct me. But what folks were encouraged to do was go and enter their own reports because they could do that. And that's how a bunch of wacky reports got stuck in the VAERS vaccine mortality numbers. And so there was a bunch of bogus information put in. And then these people would go and pull up that bogus information and use it as evidence. Uh, pretty dang unscrupulous.
In 2021, the number of people who dies after getting vaccinated, I think that means died, after getting vaccinated, precipitously spiked with at least 21,914 people died after receiving the COVID shot.
And that all turned out to be a bunch of hooey too. That was something else that was shaking my faith in all these things, because I was told that there was going to be millions and millions and millions of people just dropping dead like flies, and that didn't come true. Yes, in the beginning there were a lot of people that died, but the people that are dying now, even or over the past couple of years, has not, from what I understand, been directly related to the vaccine. From everything that I have read, everything that I have seen, scientific reports, interviews with reputable individuals, um, none of that played out like it was being fear mongered on the alt right side. It was a wild time to be over there. Let's see. Let me go ahead and jump ahead a couple of minutes and see what we got here. Oh, that's music. All right. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and cut it there. That'll give you a pretty good idea of where I was 4 years ago in a relatively short video. Um, I made a lot of missteps, but then again, I was caught in an echo chamber. I was raised in a Republican family in an uber conservative uh, Christian Dominionist, what turned into a Christian nationalist denomination, and has led us to the world that we're in now. And it's just, I was primed for it, like a lot of people. It's been a rough road. I worked my way out. I did my own research. I found answers that I could verify. And that's how I got to the truth. And then I started digging deeper into the things that were bugging me and try to figure out why. And that's how it is I have all these profiles. And I've got more profiles coming. Some of the preacher profiles, character profiles that I've done need some expansion, but I also need to start getting to some stories where these different characters are working together. But that's down the road. I just wanted to make a confession, folks. I goofed, but I know how I got there. I also know how I got out. And if I can do it, anybody else who's willing to put in the work can do it as well. All right, that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. If you know somebody that might be able to use it, please send it to them. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button too. In the meantime, until the next video, and I've got a few more in the shoot right now, take care of yourselves so you can take care of each other. Get the rest you need and keep track of those fluids.